reasonably well. As we can see from one of the evidences is the inflationary trend, which when you plot it, you see that it has been northward trending since the beginning of the year. However, we also must situate that within the global context. So there are two sides to the economic performance. There is the global implication, and then there is the local side of things. On the global side of things, the world decided to do some, should I call it crazy things, when we have this Russian-Ukraine war that we could not intervene and stop. So the implication of the Russia-Ukraine war was a global food problem and also a global energy problem. We've seen how that has impacted economics across the world. America had an inflation that was 30-year all-time high. Germany had 20-year all-time high. Japan had 40-year all-time high inflation. If we come a little bit closer home to Ghana, Ghana's economy literally packed up. They had the worst currency across the world. The performance of the currency, CD, was the worst across the world. Inflation was well over 50% in Ghana. Ghana literally went bankrupt in year 2022. So on the global side of things, 2022 was in crisis as far as economy is concerned. For us on the local side, a few things have also played out. Number one, because we are heavily dependent on imports. Everything that affected import from where we are importing them from will affect Nigeria, including food. We import a lot of what we eat in Nigeria. So when you go to a country that is experiencing a 40-year all-time inflation and you bring items from that place into your country, you're bound to have imported part of the inflation in that country. The same thing goes for refined products. Though Nigeria is a major crude producer, it imports its refined product. So energy crisis that is outside there in the global world, as you go out there to go and import the fuel into Nigeria, we're also importing some of those crises back into Nigeria. On the domestic side of things, there were problems around inflation, around insecurity. And insecurity plays out in several areas. Some of the people your reporter interviewed actually spoke to those issues. When transporters are worried about the road, either because the road is not good, that's an infrastructure problem, or they think someone might show up in the bush and kidnap the driver, all those things add up to the cost of doing business in Nigeria. So by the time food products, for example, move from the north to the south, the cost of moving this food product has literally doubled, in some instances tripled. So all these have come together to make 2022 a tough year economically.
Being played out like that, it feels very sad, and it's very sad that Nigeria is in this situation. So very quickly, because we don't want to spend much time on this particular topic. From your own point of view, going into 2023, what thing do you feel now? What things now? I doubt it's going to be just one thing. What do you feel Nigeria needs to do to make sure that we cushion this effect? And 2023, because you had actually predicted that Nigeria might be facing food insecurity by July, August 2023. With that prediction in sight, it is there for everyone to see. So what do Nigerians or Nigerian government need to do to make sure that that is not our portion?
Okay, that's for me, right? Okay. What Nigeria needs to do, number one, is that there are further complications to our problem when we had flooding around September, which was across several states. And some of these states are heavy food producers. So there is need for certain level of intervention to minimize or to moderate the effect of that massive flooding that we saw. In that massive flooding were a lot of crops submerged and destroyed. I think the federal government is already taking certain steps in that direction. There was a supplementary budget that is being proposed. And part of what that supplementary budget is meant for is intervention in food security. When you take our composite inflation figure, you observe that a critical driver of our composite inflation figure is the food inflation. So if we're able to address food inflation, it will bring down significantly, or it will have an effect, moderate the inflationary trend that we have been passing through. Beyond that, 2023 is also interesting because it is a year in which we're changing government. If we do this successfully, political transition in itself, peaceful political transition is a positive thing for a country from the perspective of the international communities, investors, and all come what may. When they see that you're able to transit peacefully from one government to another politically, it is a booster. Then when the new government comes in, it must begin to do more of the right thing. There are so many issues on the ground. But if it begins to take the right steps in the right direction, the world will respond positively, even before they start to see the result of what he's doing. Just the steps in the right direction are very important. There are so many economic distortions that are going on here, the multiple exchange rate, the fuel subsidy, corruption here and there. All these issues are things that the new government must be able to tackle and reassure Nigerians of a vision to a destiny land that is better than where we are right now. If we're able to do that, we will see much better 2023 than 2022 that is going out.
But just this final question before I let you go, this is very important because you mentioned the budget, which you said that with the because President Muhammadu Buhari he demanded that some things be inserted for the 2023 budget. And part of these things, the astonishing part of it is going to be funded by borrowing, debt, and we already have a substantial amount of debt already that part of our budget is being used to repay, and then we are trying to use debt again to sort of kickstart or to sort of pushing the blow that flood and everything has done on the economy. Is that not like shooting oneself in the foot? Oh, it seems we've lost connection with Mr. Olodede. And I think I have to direct that question now to the Congress of Men. I have it with me.
Yes.
Okay, should I even, who would like to go first? Should I do that with it?
Anyone? Well, so you meant the question you asked last?
Yes. One of Nigeria's debts.
Yes, my understanding, I understand we have a 44 trillion external debt hangover presently.
Yes.
Then the budget just proposed by the president is to 20 trillion naira, the highest ever in the history of Nigeria, up from 17.5 which we had in 2022. Now, the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 says it should not go beyond 3% of the GDP for fiscal deficit financing. That of 2022 was 3.5%. 2023 is 4 something%, way beyond that threshold. Now, of course, internationally they say that your debt to GDP must stop at a particular level, which the finance guys have said we've not got up to that yet. But the truth is that every deficit financing adds to your debt. You are owing and you are financing it. Okay, and just like you said, we are borrowing to finance. We are borrowing to finance. There is a space for, okay, our income in the present proposal the president tabled before the National Assembly. We are having something in the neighborhood of 10 trillion naira as income. So we are looking at about 10 trillion again to be financed. That's the deficit. Much of this will be through loans. Does it add up? We are going on to, of course, many have said if you can invest in the real sector, infrastructure, the real sector, manufacturing, that with time the economy will come up, we can pay. But there has to be a clear tracking of this kind of spending so it trickles down to the real sector. In the next 3-4 years, that's why I have the medium-term expenditure program, MTF, and all of that. If it's well implemented, definitely Nigeria is going to come out of the woods. So sometimes the borrowing may not be negatively perceived if and only if it's applied. Yes,
so,
the real
what do you have to say about that? Debt to service debt and also to cushion the effect of the flood that happened this year?
I think my colleague has concluded well by saying that it is not the borrowing that is the problem. It is what we spend, the borrowed resources earn. I mean, if we invest in the real sector of the economy, we are going to produce more. And when we produce more and we have infrastructures through which we can move what we produce in one part of the country to another, and all of that, and everybody feel comfortable with him or herself having places to sell their goods and services, then Nigeria will pay more taxes and rates, and once that comes in, then there will be a possibility of a better balance of trade, with the international cycles. Then Nigeria will be afloat. Though you have to lay the foundation, and we have to agree with the system that, look, you are starting from somewhere, a zero level to a higher level. You are no longer where you used to be. For example, our railway system is no longer the way it used to be. Even the road infrastructures are not the way they used to be. Yes, the security has dipped in a way, and there are things, that are political, socio-political undertones, even to the issues of security, because those who are agitating, for one thing or the other, they cite, political and socio-political, reasons of why they are doing it. But then that has not been helping the economy, and hardly could any government, any administration, deal with issue of security once and for all. No, it had to be a gradual process, just like the issue of corruption. There hasn't been any country all over the world where corruption has been stamped out completely. But then there are trappings of moves, towards caging the monster called corruption, even in Nigeria.